Hey guys, this is Ashley, and today I'm going to be continuing with my June and July wrap-up. I totally missed doing a wrap-up in June, and I only read a couple books in July, so I figured I would just lump them all into one video. That has now become two videos because I talked way too much about the books I read in June. So let's just get into it. I have quite a few more books to talk about, so I'm going to try to go through them as quickly as I can. So the first two books that I want to talk about are from an author that I have been really loving this year, and that is Nnedi Okorafor. I recently read her Binti trilogy, and I finished The Night Masquerade in June, and I'm probably going to do a review on all of Nnedi Okorafor's books in like one video, but I really liked the Binti trilogy. I read Binti like a couple years ago and didn't realize that it was going to be part of a trilogy, and was kind of disappointed in my overall reactions of the book initially, but after reading through all three of the books, I loved this series. I loved Binti's character development and progression throughout the series, and I think it's definitely a very interesting book, and the world building that Nnedi Okorafor is able to produce in a series that totals like under 400 pages is just astounding to me. I'm really interested in this book, and I wish it was a lot longer. That's really like my only criticism, but I absolutely enjoyed it. I also listened to Broken Places, Outer Spaces by Nnedi Okorafor. This is her recent nonfiction book. It was created by TED Talks, I believe. So basically, Nnedi Okorafor, when she was really young, had scoliosis, and she had surgery to kind of correct the issue, and ended up becoming paralyzed from the waist down. So this is her experience overcoming that. She's able to walk now, and it's about her kind of overcoming that while also realizing her passion and talent of writing, and I think it was beautifully done. I listened to it on Audible, and she's the narrator. I think she did a fantastic job, and I immediately had to buy a physical copy because there's artwork in the physical copy and just a lot of other little things in the book that you just don't get to experience in the audiobook. But here's like one of the spreads in the book. So I can't wait to read this again. It's really, really short. I think it's under 100 pages, so it's definitely worth the read. I think I'm going to be gifting this to a lot of people for Christmas. So yeah, I think it's just very inspirational. I feel like it's similar to When Breath Becomes Air, but from a fantasy Black writer that I think was really well done. And if you really like Nnedi Okorafor, then there's no questioning you need to read this book. I purchased a book subscription box, Shelf Love Crate, and The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg was the book in that subscription box. And I was really excited about this because I've heard a lot of interesting things about this book. It felt like it was going to be similar to Westworld, with also like a Disney-inspired dystopian world. So I was very interested in this. We follow our main character, Anna, who is an android who is one of the princesses of the park, and basically there have been a lot of mysterious things happening, a lot of strange things happening with her sisters or other androids, and she's becoming to think about her life and what it means and who she is and all of that. And she's doing this with the help of one of the like maintenance people at the park named Owen. You're basically reading this book through trial transcripts and some other information. So when you start the book, Owen has been murdered, and I hope that's not a spoiler, but it's essentially like exactly what happens in the beginning, and Anna is accused of murdering him. So you're reading transcripts, interviews that they take of her, and you're trying to like piece together, is she the actual person that murdered him? How did this happen? And what is going on at this park? And I think it was very well done. There's a lot of instances of this book where you think something is going to happen and then realize that it's totally different than what you expected, and there's a lot more going on in this park than even the two of the main characters realize. So I really enjoyed it. It was a very quick and fun read, and I would definitely recommend it if you're into the Westworld and that type of thing, and if you really like Disney World but want to see a darker take on it. I was hoping that this book would be very dark, and it definitely delivered on that. So I would definitely recommend this book. So we're almost at the end. So the next book I actually listened to, and it was The Black God's Drums by Deji Clark. This is a kind of, I would say, a novella too. It's very short on Audible. I think it's like 5, maybe 4 hours long. It's kind of hard to describe what this is, but it takes place in New Orleans, and it's like a cyberpunk story, and we follow this young 13-year-old girl who discovers that these people want to use the god's drums to kind of make this like epic weapon, basically. And so she works with this like girl that owns like a ship, one of those like air balloon ships, and was friends with her mother, and they kind of work together to stop them from using the god's drums as a weapon. I really liked the voice of this book because I think New Orleans speech is so unique and different that I think it was captured very well in the audiobook. Again, this book was really short, so it was hard to really get into the world and kind of understand how the world operated. For a while I thought we were in the present time, and then it felt like we were in the past, but I'm not sure it's actually any time like in our timeline. It feels like it's definitely more of like a cyberpunk retelling of past New Orleans. I think that's what it is, but again, it was kind of confusing, and it felt like by the time I was like understanding my settings and where I was in the world, the story was progressing at a really quick rate where it was like, oh, we're already done with the story. But I think it was really good, and I think that I don't think it was an issue of the author's writing. I just think it was an issue of the length of the piece. So I don't think this would deter me from picking up any of her other work. So I'm really excited to see what else she writes, and I hope it has some of more of that New Orleans inspiration, because I think that was like really well done. I also read some manga, and the first one that I read was The Ghost Diary. I'm not really going to talk about this one too much. I feel like it has a lot of the problematic tropes that you find in some manga. We have like this weird brother-sister relationship where it's definitely explicitly stated in several occasions that the brother might have an interest in his sister that is beyond like sisterly love, which is like a little uncomfortable for me and just not something I want to read about. I don't know, it was just very strange, and it wasn't like ever disputed by the brother. It was just very confusing, and there's just like a lot of like weird things that go on in this story that just make it problematic in my opinion. Finally, I also read The Voynich Hotel volumes 1, 2, and 3. This was less problematic than The Ghost Diary, but not as interesting. I think the story had a lot of like holes in it, and I think like if the story, I read all of them, that was like 3 was the last in the volume. I think if the story would have been able to go longer, I think it would have been done really well, but the character development felt pretty rushed, and the relationship was kind of rushed, so I just wouldn't recommend this. I'm probably gonna end up giving these away, but yeah, I mean, it was okay. Like, it wasn't the best thing in the world. So those are all of the books that I read in June and July. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry it was a long one, and I'm going to be doing monthly wrap-ups again, so don't worry. I will be making a long lumped video with 2 months, and I'm surprised I got through so much in the last 2 months. But yeah, if you've read any of these books, let me know in the comments. I'd love to talk with you about them. And yeah, I'll see you guys very soon with another video. Thanks for watching. Bye!